reach out my hand to you. I'll have faith in all you do. Just call my name and I'll be there. I'll be there with a love that's strong.
That was so good. For those of you guys who don't know Sarah Frank, she has been directing missions at Reality LA, our home church, global and local, and is now narrowing her focus to local missions. Clearly she has the gift of music. I think most people who find out that they have this talent and get that affirmation at a young age would just run with that and want to be on, you know, those child star discovery shows and all that. And where do you think that line was drawn?
So the family I was raised in, my parents actually met on a musical missions trip, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That I grew up in a very musical family, but a very ministry-focused family. I think I was 12 years old. It was actually during worship in kids' church. And I just remember feeling the Lord say, hey, I have more for you, and I want you to do ministry. And then actually later that day, they introduced a class for kids to learn about missions. So I decided to just dive in and go on missions, and that was kind of the beginning of everything. Yeah. Music is still my passion and something I love to do, and I write and I sing all the time, but the Lord really had work for me to do. Aside from those giftings, he had other giftings he wanted to develop and grow.
So as you're called into missions and called into ministry, why specifically Los Angeles?
So I was at Biola, and I was in one of my teaching ministry classes. I think it was my leadership class, and they had us do this exercise where we wrote down, what do we want to accomplish in the next 10 years? Like, what are your goals? So it was just this free write. So I just was like, oh, I'm just writing stuff down about family and like people getting saved and all this different stuff. And all of a sudden it was like, I didn't even realize that this was in my heart, but I was like, I want to see Los Angeles come to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. I want to see the entertainment industry glorify the Lord.
Amen.
I want to see, and I just started writing out all these vision statements that I was like, where is this coming from?
Wow.
That's when the Lord really started to develop my heart and grow it for LA, and I started tailoring the rest of my education towards the entertainment industry and Hollywood and what makes people tick, and actors and actresses and the people behind the camera, and to raise up Christians in this place, not for like some weird, you know, like Christian subculture of entertainment, but to really just truly be the people of God in their sphere of influence. There's this quote, John Piper always says that missions exist because worship does not. And with my heart for music, my heart for worship, I understand that on one level, but then when you start to get to know missions and you start to look at the history of time and God's heart, his mission is to reconcile all of creation to himself. So if mission exists because worship does not, what does that mean? And it means that we as the people of God don't know how to be the people of God. And so I would love to work myself out of a job by equipping the saints to do the work of mission every single day in their sphere of influence, using their gifts and abilities, using their passions, partnered with God's mandates and his word and his heart for the lost, and really knowing our city and the culture that we actually live in, regardless of if that's music or if that's whatever their trade, carpentry, administration, math and science. It's not my gifting, you know, like do what the Lord has called you to do for his glory.
How has this whole journey been for you in terms of submission and submitting to the Lord's will, and how has that humbled you? I would love to kind of hear what that definition is for you of humility.
Yeah. I think my pastor said it best recently. He said
Who's your pastor?
Oh, Jeremy Treat.
Okay.
My pastor at Reality LA.
Me too.
He recently did a teaching, and how the opposite of pride isn't humility, the opposite of pride is worship. Because pursuing humility, you're still pursuing something and thinking about yourself. Like, I want to be humble, I want to be humble.
Yeah.
But worship is laying yourself at the foot of the cross and crying out praise and adoration and truth that God is worthy of praise. And it's about us becoming less so that he can become greater. That's humility, that's worship. And so it's hard to like when someone says, oh, you're such a humble person, I know in my mind I am not. You know, like I know that I'm not, and it's a struggle, and it's something that we pursue, but it's almost a pursuit of humility through surrender, because pride is thinking that I know something better than God, right?
Yes, yes.
So if I think more highly of myself than I ought to, that's pride. But if I think like self-deprecation and thinking less of myself, that's also pride, because it's me thinking that God made a mistake. Like how, and that's the tragedy of insecurity, right? Is that pride and insecurity go hand in hand, because we think less of ourselves than we ought to, or we think more of ourselves and then we need to like prove that we are more than what anybody else thinks we are. And so that's the pairing of pride and insecurity. But humility goes hand in hand with confidence, because we know it's not about us, it's about Jesus.
Yeah.
So when that comes to ministry, laying down music was extremely hard for me and really painful, but yet what the Lord has used me for and done in me and through me has been so much richer, because it's been him and it's not been me.
Yeah.
And I still get to enjoy music. Like, it's not like, oh, I can never listen again, I can never sing again. Like, no, I can like freely worship the Lord.
And I love us being in Haiti too. I feel like that was such a fruitful time when I was so fearful to sing in front of people, and you're so encouraging, and you obviously have the ear where you can hear and you're like, you're fine, your tone is fine. And I was, you know, having a panic attack. I felt like there was just such a gentleness when we were on the roof of our house in Haiti, and I would look at you and you're like, you can do it. You didn't even say it, you just, your eyes, you're just like, I know that Hawaii has been something that's been placed on your heart.
Yeah.
What has the Lord been showing you through this whole process?
It has been so sanctifying. I love my job. I have my dream job, which is to equip the saints and send people out and encourage and teach and create opportunities and create relationships all over the city for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah.
And he's asking me to give that up. And I just
got comfortable.
I know, right? When I first came in to the missions department at Reality LA, I came in as an assistant. And then was promoted to director within the first year. So I went from like caring for local stuff to all local and global and benevolence. And quickly found that benevolence was not my gifting. And so then we were able to bring in Maggie Wong, who's incredible.
Shout out to Maggie!
She's great. Yeah. And she was able to take the small thing that I developed and turn it into this beautiful, holistic ministry. And I focused on learning and growing in my trade, which is ministry and teaching and curriculum development for local, for global. And it's been this huge part of my life, a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And the Lord is saying, like, no more accomplishments. It's not about you, it's about me. So laying down what was my ministry is not my ministry anymore.
Wow.
But his ministry, whoever is going to take this is going to be able to do way more than I ever could. And I have to trust that. I have to surrender to that.
Yeah.
And not allow my pride to be like, no one can do it the way I can do it. Like, no, like they've been doing ministry for thousands of years. They're going to continue. Like, it's about the gospel. It's about people knowing Jesus. It's about so much more than what I'm gifted at.
I love that. Taking it out of our own perspective of what we see in front of us and trying to see what the Lord's doing from above and just being submissive of where he wants to use us. That was so amazing. I totally agree. If you guys agree, click the like button below and don't forget to subscribe. God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Don't even worry about it.
Don't even worry about it.
You don't even get it.
Let me slate.
Okay.
3130, Sarah Frank.